but in your hands is a brush of light. Paint the waters clear as the night. No pain, no pain. Break the chains of the stories told, a world rebuilt, a future bold. Let the toxins fade, let the earth renew. The script belongs to me and you.
Toxin whispers a tale in the air, silent truth that linger everywhere. But the pen's in your hand to rewrite the plot. The story of healing can't be forgot. You've got the power to clear the sky, turn the poison to a lullaby, erase the stains left in the rain, write a future that feels no pain. Rivers hum with a bittersweet tune, a song of sorrow under the moon. But in your hands is a brush of light, paint the waters clear as the night. You've got the power to clear the sky, turn the poison to a lullaby, erase the stains left in the rain, write a future that feels no pain. You've got the power to clear the sky, turn the poison to a lullaby, erase the stains left in the rain, write a future that feels no pain.
Every toxin whispers a tale in the air, silent truths that linger everywhere. But the pen's in your hand to rewrite the plot. The story of healing can't be forgot. You've got the power to clear the sky, turn the poison to a lullaby, erase the stains left in the rain, write a future that feels no pain. Rivers hum with a bittersweet tune, a song of sorrow under the moon. But in your hands is a brush of light, paint the waters clear as the night. You've got the power to clear the sky, turn the poison to a lullaby, erase the stains left in the rain, write a future that feels no pain. Break the chains of the stories told, a world rebuilt, a future bold. Let the toxins fade, let the earth renew. The script belongs to me and you. You've got the power to clear the sky, turn the poison to a lullaby, erase the stains left in the rain, write a future that feels no pain. With a bittersweet tune, a song of sorrow under the moon. But in your hands is a brush of light, paint the waters clear as the night. No pain, no pain. Break the chains of the stories told, a world rebuilt, a future bold. Let the toxins fade, let the earth renew. The script belongs to me and you.
Toxin whispers a tale in the air. You've got the power, clear the sky. Turn the poison to a lullaby. Erase the stains left in the rain. Write a future that feels no pain. The rivers hum with a bittersweet tune, a song of sorrow under the moon. But in your hands is a brush of light. Paint the waters clear as the night. You've got the power, clear the sky. Turn the poison to a lullaby. Erase the stains left in the rain. Write a future that feels no.
Hi guys, this is the voice of Omega Bioentertainment. Once again, I am here today on another course on the educational series of Omega Bioentertainment. This is another opportunity to meet with my listeners at home and to be able to proceed on our journey on introduction to toxicology. You will recall that this is going to be the third lectures that we are going to have on toxicology. The first lectures was centered on terms and terminologies in toxicologies, and we in that same video we were able to look at some of the basic acronyms as it applies to toxicology. Don't forget that then we define toxicology as the science of poison. And at that point in time, we were able to understand that toxin or poison uh, is what we inherit from our forefathers. After that, we also look at some basic phases when it comes to milestone and historical background of toxicology. I want to believe that you should be able to have an opportunity again and check the previous videos on toxicology. Don't forget that this is just the introduction to toxicology, and it is on that note that what we are going to be doing and what we have been doing so far has not been more than just at the learning, which is a elementary level of toxicology. This is another opportunity today, and I have come to you on two important topics, which is in furtherance of our educational series in toxicology. The first aspect we are going to deal with is what are the branches of toxicology? What are the branches of toxicology? You might come across anyone who might just think that toxicology ends where you just study toxicology, just science of toxin, and that is just all. No, there are different branches. It's just like when you plant a very big tree. That very big tree has a lot of branches, and that is exactly the field of toxicology. The first aspect that we are going to just mention briefly today is mechanistic toxicology, which is the science of studying cellular, biochemical, and molecular mechanism by which chemicals cause toxic responses. Then we will also in this course of toxicology, there's another very important of toxicology which has to do with the forensic science, forensic toxicology. So that is the science of investigating the cause of death, and that is the legal aspect of toxicology. That means as a toxicologist, there could be a time that you have to carry out forensic analysis about the cause of death and legal aspect of toxicology that is just going to be just like any other field of study. And the third one is clinical toxicology, which is the science of treatment of poisons and injuries caused by xenobiotics. So we are going to look at some of these xenobiotics in different videos entirely, and it is the fourth one is going to be environmental toxicology, which is the study of studying environmental pollutants, such as the effects of such pollutant on flora, that is on plants and animals. So that is dealing with the aspect that has to do with the environmental toxicology. Another aspect of toxicology, or another branch of the toxicology, is food toxicology, which is the study of adverse effects of processed or natural food components. So you will recall that I asked you to watch a video of a plague of 1518, and where it was actually reported that some of these toxin was as a result of fungal secretion of toxic substances. So that actually led to the dancing syndrome, this dancing plague of 1518. Please, uh, you owe me that duty to go and watch the beginning, or whatever we want to call the origin of food toxicology, which is a adverse effect of processed or natural food. Then we should not forget the fact that another branches of toxicology is just that you can also serve in all these regulatory bodies. So like EPA, that is Environmental Protection Agencies, and so on and so forth like that. So the regulatory aspects assign risk to substances that are going to be of a commercial importance. That means before any food, anything that is going to be a substance uh, is being regulated, is being allowed to be sold to large aspect of the population for commercial importance. It has to pass some regulatory agencies. In Nigeria, we have Food and Drug, uh, NAFDAC, and we have SON, that is Standard Organization of Nigeria, and so on and so forth. All these are part of the regulatory or regulating agencies that is directly related to the science of toxin, which is toxicology. So just like I said, you one aspect has to do with you involve analysis of biological samples like blood, urine, and some other organs. To do what? To be able to identify and quantify toxin, drugs, or poison, which has to have its own legal aspect. That's why we said forensic toxicology is the legal entity, or the legal basis of toxicology. So, and the purpose is to provide crucial evidence in case there is a criminal investigation and legal cases, such as determining if a victim was poisoned or if a driver was impaired by drugs. We have just been told of a case of one of our students of a student of an higher institution who just cooked for her boyfriend, and the boyfriend also happened to uh, consume the food and invited one of his friends. And before you know it, in less than 24 hours, the boyfriend died. And up till now, from the information people gathered around that place, they discovered that even the second person that ate the food was and is still in a state of comatose. So investigation like that will involve a forensic toxicologist, not just ordinary toxicology, not just because you offer or you read toxicology in university or in school, that has now qualifies you to be a forensic toxicologist. This is a specific aspect of toxicology. And the real world example is the postmortem toxicology, which help to confirm the poisoning in a criminal case. And sometimes forensic toxicology will involve a routine drug testing in sport or workplaces. So whether they are you we are very familiar with Paul Pogba, who was punished, who was caught with um, maybe with swallowing or consuming an illicit chemical or an enhancer which could boost his immune system so as to be able to run. Uh, we are going to see that. Then clinical toxicology, which focuses on diagnosis, management, and treatment of poisoning and overdose in human. So this branch is practiced in case of emergency, poison control centers, as well as hospitals by medical toxicologists. So, and the role of a clinical toxicology is to assess patient that is exposed to toxin, determine the toxin and severity of exposure, and also be able to administer an appropriate antidotes or treatment of that. So emphasis is on direct patient care and preventing long-term harm. So, and a typical reward example is a clinical toxicologist who might manage a patient who has overdosed himself as a result of just ordinary paracetamol, that is acetaminophen, by providing antidotal therapy to prevent liver failure and treat a snake bite fitting with antivenom. So all these are part of what clinical toxicologists would do. It's, it is their role to diagnose, to manage, and also treat. Uh, that is a substance poisoning as a result of overdoses in human. Okay. The another one is we mentioned the regulatory body. The regulatory toxicologists conduct, they are in charge of conducting assessments and interpret toxicology data to establish safe exposure limits for chemicals. So, and their role involve or include collection and analysis of toxicity testing results, and be able to determine and collect epidemiological data. So we can actually see them around here crowding their bus, and they are trying to put one or two things, look at the toxicological content regulation, look at chemical safety regulation, and so on and so forth. So the real world example of regulatory toxicology is government rely on regulatory toxicology for any decision that is going to involve daily intake of food, additives, banning harmful pesticides, or approving new pharmaceuticals only after thorough toxicity evaluation. So this is very, very important. If we do not have anybody that is going to be in charge, of toxicological safety, or how safe can we be. So it's going to be a very big task for that. Now, occupational toxicology. So in place of our work, not all not all occupation um that has an hazard effect that is related to toxicology. So occupational toxicologists apply toxicology principle in their workplace, focusing on chemicals and biological hazard that workers might be exposed to on the job. So the goal of this occupational toxicologist is to prevent work-related illnesses, so that nobody will, so that even in the workplace, apart from our home, we we as a worker, we should be able to be free from any hazard. So, and that's why what you can see this man doing, you can see is already on sophisticated nose mask, and what he's still trying to do, it is at the place of his work. So, and another branch of toxicology is that of food toxicology. So, and it has to do with carrying out investigation and of some chemicals in our diet. So, whether the chemicals are naturally occurring or they are being added as an additive. What could be the cause of the harms? So this has to do food toxicology as a kind of interrelationship overlapping with food safety and public health. So, and the real world example I have told us like that of aflatoxin from aspergillus fungi in moldy peanuts or corn. Peanut or corn can cause liver cancer in humans, leading to strict limits on aflatoxin level. So, all this is another branch in the tree of toxicology. So, we'll see that. Then the veterinary toxicologists, these are aspect of toxicology that focuses on the effect of toxin on animals such as livestock, pets, and wildlife. So, veterinary toxicologists diagnose and prevent poisoning in animals, as well as study how toxin move through the food chain. So, what we are saying in essence is just that a veterinary toxicologist is as so important as the toxicology, human toxicology. So, the what they normally do is to investigate cases where animals are being affected by seeking chemicals or natural poison. So, for example, livestock are accidentally ingesting poisonous plant or pet exposed to household chemicals. So this is another aspect. The another one is analytical toxicology. So this one involve the detection, identification, and measurement of toxic substances in biological and environmental samples. So this also underpins many other toxicology branches by providing laboratory needed for decision making. Okay. Um, Analytical toxicology also continues, but one thing that you need to appreciate here is that it is a modern because it involves a lot of, for example, it involves gas chromatography, spectrometry, and IHPLC, immunoacid, this and all these are being used to accurately detect poison in drugs and their metabolites. So this is what is called analytical toxicology. Okay, and just like I said at the beginning of this presentation, mechanistic toxicology explores the mechanism by which toxic substances cause harm at the molecular, cellular, or biochemical level. So, and the question that mechanistic toxicology always asks is that how exactly does the poison work in the body? That is, that one will involve what is called that that is a toxicodynamics. Toxicodynamics. So that is how exactly does the poison work in the body. Okay. Mechanistic continues because it also involves processes such as how toxin interacts with cellular targets like DNA, protein, membrane, and so on and so forth. And we can see that this person is already keeping animals in order to be able to harvest them, I mean, sacrifice them, affect their organs, and one way or the other to study them at molecular level. So that is called mechanistic toxicology. Okay, another aspect, another branch of toxicology is called descriptive toxicology. This involves the experimental testing of chemicals to describe their toxic properties and how potent are they. So this branch produce the data needed for safety evaluation, often through laboratory and animal studies. Okay, so this descriptive toxicology, you will see that this man is has a lot to relate, has a lot to do when it comes to that. Okay, then just like the name also suggests, developmental and reproductive toxicology. So, for example, for any pregnant mothers, you will see that these are the likely be the effects of consuming or having consumed poisonous substance. Number one, it's going to lead to brain abnormalities. Abnormalities. Another one is that it is going to lead to defects. Health defects. Okay, and so on. Then, I mean, sorry, heart defects, abnormal limbs, cleft limbs, and so on and so forth. So, this is a when a toxicology is trying to study the hmm, that is studying the post exposure of pregnant mothers. So, um, of pregnant mothers to toxic chemicals, which can lead to brain abnormalities. The child can have congenital heart diseases, abnormal limbs formation, as well as those that have a cleft lip. How many of us have seen and that actually know what they call cleft lip? That is when their mouth, when the oral part of them refuses to separate, and that is called cleft lip. Anyway, okay. So developmental, just like we said, is that there was a real world example where the drug that is called thalidomide tragedy underscored the importance of this field. Thalidomide was given to pregnant women in the late 1950s for morning sickness. But at the end of the day, that thalidomide turned out to be carcinogenic. So all this has to be documented. Okay. So, and the new feed that is actually coming up. So, I am very sure that most of us might not want to go into this area because it is something that is involving bioinformatics. So, everything now in biological science is to speak the language of genomics. So genomics, that is a continuation of toxicology, okay, which is an emerging branch that integrates what genomics, which is a large DNA RNA analysis with toxicology to understand how genes influence responses. Okay, so just like I said, um, toxicology continues to evolve with science and technology. So it is an emerging branch that integrates genomics, which is a large scale DNA RNA with toxicology to understand that this application of genomics, application of bioinformatics in the world of toxicology. So that is a new field, and it is an emergence. It is an emerging, just coming up field which has to do with that. There are different types of ways by which we normally do that. For example, even production of vaccine, you need to subject the vaccine to toxicity test to actually know whether it is going to be toxic or is not going to be toxic. So, for example, toxical genomics might analyze how exposure to a pesticide changes the gene expression in liver cells, or why certain individuals are more susceptible to toxin. So this help in identifying some biomarkers of exposure so as to be able to do a kind of personalized diagnosis on what is called toxic. So, and nanotoxicity toxicology is also a new evolving way. Okay, it's another cutting edge area. So, we also know that from the word nano, those of us that are very familiar with physics will be able to know about this. Okay, and it is really on that note that I really want to thank you for your listening attention. Thank you for your listening attention. Thank you so much.